So when Alderman Skidmore's resolution first came to me, I thought that this was going to be an easy vote. The council supported this back at budget time, knowing that if the COPS grant did not come through, that we would be back here debating this. I didn't think till midnight, but debating this and come to a decision. I fully expected it to be, without much debate because of the support it had during the budget. Now, I want to clarify my position on this last fall. I supported what the mayor had in his budget. I did not support adding more police. Didn't support them then, but that was 15 or 7 or 8, depending on who's running the numbers, but it was about twice as much that came through in the budget amendment, still linked to the COPS grant, however. That's why we're sitting here, because it's linked to the COPS grant. If we wouldn't have, attached it to the COPS grant, we wouldn't be having this discussion. Madison Police Department would be free to hire more officers, but we did, and we are having this discussion. I think it's interesting that the folks who contacted me directly, we had many, many emails from people on both sides, mostly just cut and paste kind of stuff, same verbiage, just a different person sending it. But I did receive some individual emails from my constituents. And the folks that contacted me wanting more police officers did so because they want crime reduction. They want a reduction in violence in our city. And I think it's important to say, and no one has said this tonight, Alder McKinney has asked about it several times, but we debated that too. And we debated that when it came to the public health initiative. Police officers do not, it's not a one-to-one. If you hire more cops, you don't get a direct reduction in either crime or violent crime. You just don't. And so I think that's important for people to understand. It was stated by the mayor, it was stated by our director of public health, by 2 alders who work in public health, Estrick and Badar, about violence reduction or violence in our community is a public health issue. We supported that initiative to go forward and figure that out. So there's really a misconception, I think, with many members of our community that they feel that hiring more police officers, make them necessarily safer, and especially patrol officers, because patrol officers are responding to something that's already happened. Now, they need to respond, and we need enough officers to do that, but it's not going to make you necessarily safer. And I just think that's really important to point out. And I know most people in this room understand it. I'm hoping that some people at home that are listening or will listen, I'll ask them to, that they start getting this concept too, because it's really important that we support this public health initiative for crime and violence reduction in our community. So having said that, and getting back to it being an easy vote, it's not an easy vote. I didn't support more police like the 8 additional last fall. I supported the first 8. And I expected to show up here tonight and just vote for it. But over the past couple of weeks, there's just been a lot of soul searching again. As I mentioned, Midtown and the wisdom of continuing to hire more officers, when the officers that we have authorized have not even been hired, have not even gone to work. We don't know what that other district is going to do for our city. It seems a little premature. coupling that with the fact that MPD stopped their strategic planning for the OIR study, and now we're starting it back up again, understanding that that needs to happen, and we need to understand through that process, through that community process, do we really want 50-50 with community policing? From what I hear, community policing is not directly related. There's no proof that it reduces crime. It may make people feel good to say that we're doing this, but is that really what we should be doing? We have mental health officers, and when the chief wanted to add them, again in another finance meeting when I used to sit on that committee, my question to him is, should we be having officers do this work, or should we be hiring social workers? Understanding that we need folks dealing with mental health, but are cops the best people to deal with it? He was pretty defensive in his answer because he'd already made up his mind, and it went forward, and he allocated patrol officers for mental health officers because he can do that. So what I'm left is the same thing. It doesn't make sense to go forward and hire more officers at a time that we don't have them in place, as I've already said. Or does that make sense? And then take this year to really look at where we want, where we think folks should be working. Should they be in mental health, or should we be stepping back and putting mental health professionals, social workers in those roles? The school board's going to be making a decision about cops in schools. Depending who you talk to, I'm not sure how that's going to go down, but that'll definitely affect numbers too. So do we take this year and really spend time analyzing this, and then simply, if we do, or if the answer is to reduce staff in the police department, then simply not budget for more officers to be hired just because some are retiring? I'm assuming that's possible. I don't know. We've never done anything like that. So what's the best way to go about it? I think you could flip a coin. I really do, to know what's the best way to go about it. Where I'm coming down on this is the fact that I've actually had coffee with cops. I know. It's a crazy concept, but they do go to coffee, and they do talk to you about what their days are like. So when folks talk to us about you should talk to police officers, of course we talk to police officers in our district and outside of our district, on the street, thanking them for their service. But sitting down with cops and understanding the stress levels, talking, Teresa Martinez came and talked to us about stress levels on the police department. It's real. It's real. And so I think what it's coming down for me tonight, unless somebody else says something to mess me up, right, and come fill in my matrix in another way, is that I'm inclined to support this, only with the caveat that work is done in this year to understand where we need to be and how, in working with the police department, the OIR report, and the police's response to the OIR report, how this all shakes out. Thank you.